I've been finding it interesting lately that there's more and more statues going up to Lucifer, the light bringer, the fallen angel. He's regarded by many as the one that's going to come back and bring the knowledge. With Rudolf Steiner, he believed that Lucifer was redeemed by the Christ when Christ was on the cross. And so he's been helping us even more with our evolvement. And he was originally also part of the evolvement of humanity. And I'm going to read a little bit now from one of Steiner's lectures. I believe it is GA266, but I'm not sure. Someone just sent me this as a little snippet. I shall look it up and try and find the whole lecture at some point. Anyway, Steiner said, "A true esoteric must look at life with alert eyes from his firm, immovable standpoint, for life will become increasingly complicated. These complications are created by luciferic beings who remain behind in their development of the mystery of Golgotha. That is, they didn't accept the consequences of this mystery. What's happening now in spiritual worlds is shocking in many respects for one who can see into them. Lucifer brought it about that we moved into our physical and etheric bodies and didn't remain floating above them, and this was actually good for us, for this enabled our ego to attain cognitional power and memory. To be sure, memory is also something that holds us back. But in the way we're in our bodies, we would not be able to go without it. Mainly, we wouldn't be able to distinguish between reality and illusion. For instance, if we would think of a man we knew 20 years ago and would confront this memory picture and greet it, we would have to call that a hallucination. But we would succumb to this hallucination if we would look upon a thing that remained behind as something that was appropriate for our time, and that's something that will often be the case in the near future. The luciferic beings who remain behind at the mystery of Golgotha have created a kind of vanguard for themselves out of people they overpowered after their last death. These are the souls who lived at the time of Tauler and Eckhart in the 13th century and who belonged to the Beggard community. They're attracting a few souls soon by means of Brahmanism and Buddhism, those old religions. They were the right thing for their age when they were given to the ancient Indians, and especially Brahmanism was a much more spiritual religion than Christianity is now. But that's because the Europeans since medieval times passed by opportunities for rightly developing what came to them. Then too, a tidal wave of spiritual culture from culture will greatly impress the Europeans, for since it goes back to Atlantis, it's superior to present Christianity. What just happened in China may be of external political importance, but an esoteric must regard Kun Hongming's book, China's Defense Against European Ideas, as something that has much greater spiritual significance. Ku Hongming is a bright man. What he says isn't wrong, and there's a lot in there that should give an esoteric food for thought. He says that Christian missionaries came to China to bring their Christianity into an ancient high culture. Did they succeed? No. Something else happened instead. The missionaries brought Chinese culture back to Europe, and since the French Revolution, Europe has been Chinified much more than it realizes. This Chinaman knows exactly that his people watches over mankind's memory, and that this fact makes a deep impression on the Europeans. But as we said, memory is a Lucifer's gift. And that is the end of the quote that I'm going to read. Now, I find it very interesting that they are relating memory to Lucifer, and I recently did a video about memory, which is part of the mind, which is what the I call them the cabal, the dark forces, the scientists of this world think we no longer need, that we need to be rid of our mind and our memory, because apparently it gets in the way. But obviously it doesn't. We need our mind and we need our memory so that we can be individuals. So those people that don't want us to have a mind and memory want us to become part of a collective. And Steiner does warn about this in a lot of his books, and I believe Gurdjieff was warning us about this. You know, he was telling us not to be automatons, but to be awake, to be real. And the only way to be that is to know your individuality and know your soul. We might all be connected as humans, but at the same time you have a uniqueness that is you. We don't want that squashed. So I wish everyone love and light as usual. I hope that you find the way to lift the veil and see the reality beyond.